All right, we're off and running here on the NFL DFS Prize Pick Show. It's myself. EMac is in the house. Jordan is producing, and we appreciate you joining us and hanging with us for the next 25 minutes or so as we get you fully prepared across the board for Week 3 in the NFL PrizePicks.com edition. Just use our promo code Awesemo and take full advantage of that match. You'll see it there throughout. And we'll do it up to $100. And one thing you know is that when EMac is in the house, you have a thoroughly researched program to where he's bouncing between our own predictions on Awesemo and PrizePick.com's numbers and everything in between. EMac, my friend, it's always a pleasure.
Thank you. Yeah, this is kind of a good show. I'm enjoying sitting in the analyst seat. We've had some decent success here. Producer Jordan's been playing along, and we haven't lost him money yet, which I think is key. I don't think he's getting that new card just yet, but as long as you don't have to redeposit and you use that $100 promo code there, that money comes out first when you make your selections here on PrizePicks.
Yes, and you can do a lot of damage here. Yeah, good research and dad jokes. Are we known for that? Or are you known for the dad jokes?
If I ever had kids, I would have the most powerful dad jokes in the universe.
Right.
Lucky for us, I don't have any kids. So they're just run of the mill.
Look, I said that lucky for the world for a while, and now the world's screwed because I have one. So you've been warned, all of you out there. All right, let's look at this, my friend. From QBs to running backs, wideouts, we have you covered at prizepicks.com, and it's a very simple process. You're going to choose a bunch of different names on here, and EMac has a ton that will bounce around, and you can build it from 3, 4, 5. You can do the flex play, the power play. We'll tell you about that as we build this ticket. And it's all over or under. It's already been simplified for you here. So let's start with some quarterbacks. Let's start with some guys moving the ball in the air, EMac.
Absolutely. So the first one we have is Josh Allen. So currently on PrizePicks, he has a 265.5 passing yard. The Awesemo projections have him at 283. Now, this isn't the easiest matchup. He's going against Washington, but they are playing in the Ralph. So, and it's going to be in the mid to upper 50s, I believe, at game time. So we're not quite yet December coming off into Buffalo there. So weather should be reasonably good. I think it's a little bit low, that 265. Now you want to remember at PrizePicks, they do move their lines. And that's something that's important to note because Matt Gajewski does a couple PrizePicks video on demands that are available on the Awesemo YouTube channel and as well as on Awesemo Twitter. And he does PrizePicks college football. And like he was talking about some today where they goosed some running back went from 70 yards to 99 yards. And he's like, I still think you can take the over at 99. It's like, good God, then that would have been a slam dunk at 70. So you want to take advantage. These are the little windows that we can help you with here at Awesemo and over on PrizePicks. But the Josh Allen one, I feel relatively strongly about. Now, we don't always pick overs. Sometimes we look at some of the unders. So Matt Ryan going into New York to take on the Giants, that he has a 278.5 passing yard total.
Pretty high.
It's pretty high. Awesemo has him at 265. Now, do we think this is probably going to be a shootout? Sure, but there is no Julio Jones. Damn it, I was going to say Justin Gage again, the wide receiver for Tennessee. Russell Gage, yet again, he's coming back to haunt me.
I know.
Russell Gage has already been ruled out. So that means Calvin Ridley should get more targets. He also should get more attention from the defense. Of course, they'll have Kyle Pitts, and then they'll have Cordarrelle Patterson and Mike Davis. So the passing volume will probably be there, but is he going to get to 300? That's a little tough. And we know that while Matt Ryan tends to rack up the yards, a lot of those come from playing in the dome for half his games, plus visiting New Orleans and a variety of other domes. So that one, I think the under might be okay. It's only 13 yards there. So it's not a screaming under, but I just wanted to point out that feels like a game that could pick up some traction. The 278 is not, there are ways where he doesn't quite get there, even if the Atlanta scores 3 or 4 touchdowns. And then Ben Roethlisberger, he has a 260 passing yard total. He's going against Cincy. I'm curious for your take on this one. Awesemo has him at 280 and a hook. So we have him way up there. They are missing, or most likely going to be missing Deontay Johnson. So, but we've got the rookie running back Najee Harris, who's been involved in the passing game. He had 5 targets last week, didn't have any week 1, but they've got the revolving door of tight ends. Plus, they have Chase Claypool and Juju Smith-Schuster. Yep. But it feels like he can get over 260 in his sleep. Yeah.
So the offensive line is a wreck. Right, their offensive line is atrocious, but they're having more problems creating for Harris than I think they are just keeping Ben upright, especially because he's getting the ball out faster to compensate for that. So that's where I'm with you, where I don't want people to think that because Deontay Johnson is out, and we'll assume for the purposes of this conversation that he is, that Najee Harris is going to get 30 carries and going to be a touch monster. The reality is that running game has been struggling, and it could be so much better if guys in front of Harris opened this up. I think what you're going to see is actually, to your point and word that you just used with Matt Ryan, the volume, I think, will actually increase with Big Ben. I actually think he'll throw more without Deontay Johnson. It just won't be super downfield throws. But look, if you're getting 10 to 12-yard receptions at a higher clip than you were with Deontay Johnson were there and you were trying to focus on the running game, I also think they're going to be up. So they're going to get up by Ben throwing, not by Harris running the ball. So I'm with you. I would go over that. I don't even think that I think our projections are low. I think he's closer to 300, and this is going to surprise a lot of people, EMac.
Yeah, so that one I feel, that and the Josh Allen one I feel relatively strongly about. The next one I just wanted to put out there. We have Jacoby Brissett, who is stepping in for Tua Tagovailoa.
Yes.
Brissett is at 225.5. Awesemo has him at 223.5. I feel that's about right in all cases. Brissett, serviceable starter. He's kind of, we've determined he's probably better off as the career backup. He isn't going to tank your team, but he's probably not going to be leading you to the playoffs either. But he's a guy that can get you through a few games. He also will run the ball. Makes me a little nervous to see him get much over 220, 230 in this one.
Yeah, I just don't know what's going on with that line. They were a train wreck. They were a disaster last week against Buffalo. Jacoby Brissett may throw the ball a bunch, but I don't even know how much they're going to go downfield. I'm with you, man. Like, they have the ability to, but I just don't know how much they would. Are you going over that number? Is that what I got?
It's a stay away for me.
Okay.
When I first saw it, I thought, oh, you know what? I bet I
like staying away from that.
250. But then I thought all I can envision is a Devontae Parker, or I'm assuming Will Fuller plays this week. I can just see someone get a broken play and all of a sudden you get 40, 50 yards and your low ends up being just getting over. Now, if we set that at 250, I would definitely want the under. 240, I'm still a little ambivalent. 230, it starts to get, it just is a little cloudy there. But that was the lowest total I could find. So I thought that was an interesting dichotomy there.
I like it. I definitely think that, and again, based on our own predictions, on Awesemo, the 8-yard difference there might be enough to push some people over for sure. I think that the order I have is stay away, over, under. Does that make sense?
Yeah.
Okay. Yeah. Now, we'll stay with a quarterback, but we'll start to move into some rushing props here and some receiving as well before we get out. Again, hit that thumbs up button if you haven't already. Make sure you're subscribed to what we're doing, the Awesemo DFS channel, our Awesemo Odds channel, our Awesemo Fantasy Football channel. We totally have you covered here from season long to DFS to betting across the board. And make sure that you're also taking advantage. We're going to match up to $100 with your first deposit at PrizePicks.com. You can't beat that, up to $100. So you put 100, we put 100. You play these like Jordan's been playing based off EMac's advice, and you're going to keep coming back thanking EMac each and every week for making you money. Let's look at Justin Fields. Not throwing, though. Let's look at Justin Fields in another area that you have here.
So we're going to talk about some runners. Now, I've got some non-traditional runners here. A couple running backs. But then we're going to have Justin Fields. He is at a PrizePicks number of 53.5. Awesemo is projecting him for 44.5. I would like the under in this one. We want to remember that sack yards don't count against, they don't go negative on the rushing yards. That's college only. The sack yards just go against net passing yards for the team, not even actually the quarterback. So the NFL, they like their gaudy numbers. Let's just set these aside and not talk about those because we don't want to penalize anybody with that. So 53 rushing yards is a lot. 35 feels good. 43, 42, that's about where I would start thinking that we probably land. So 52 for me is a little bit high. This is his first game that he's gotten in a couple games, but this is his first start. A lot of things can go sideways. Will he scramble? Will he run? Yes. But also when you're out of the pocket and not setting up to pass and you're tackled behind the line of scrimmage, those count as negative yards for your running. So it's not just, oh, the quarterback was tackled behind the line of scrimmage, I don't have to worry about those. No, you actually do. You actually do. Or if he's running for his life, there are issues in that. So to me, that one just feels a little off. What feels real good is Tyreek Hill.
Yeah.
Half of a rushing yard. That's all we need. Now there's, his last 2 games this season, or his only 2 games this season, 1 carry for 15 yards, 1 carry for 4 yards. Last year, he had carries in 8 games. One game, he did have 2 carries for -2 yards. These are on jet sweeps. If he's running parallel to the line and he only gets one of them, there's a chance he's tackled for a loss, and we're not going to get that half yard. But come on, it's Tyreek Hill. So you're going to be sitting there. This is like the Super Bowl bet, Shander. I know you've degened on these before.
Absolutely.
Fullback, 7.5 receiving yards or something like that.
I might have placed a wager on an offsite for a Mike Allstott touchdown or 2 in my time. Absolutely. Back before it was all legal. Sure thing. No, yes. This is great. I love this angle that you have here.
All right. And then these next couple, we're just looking at some running backs here. So I don't know that this is actionable information. So Kareem Hunt, PrizePicks has 35.5 rushing yards. Awesemo has him all the way up at 52.5. So they're
that gap.
Yeah, that's a big one. So they're going to be going, it's that same game going against Chicago, but I think they're going to be able to control the game, Cleveland, that is. And I think we could see him get over the 35.5. This is, again, another one. If we set it at 45 or so, I wouldn't feel as great about it. But we're projecting him all the way at 52. That's quite a bit. DeAndre Swift, this is kind of a stay away, but I've seen his name come up a little bit in some of the articles I've read that are being put out by the other sites or in some of the free stuff that's out there. He just has a 40-yard rushing total. Awesemo has him at 53. I think that's a stay away, but if that was more along the combined yards, maybe we get 65 combined yards, that I'd be interested in. 40 in one receiving or in rushing, not so much with him. And then Dalvin Cook, we know he's injured. He's a game time decision. That even though that game is in Minnesota, it's actually a 4:00 game. They're going against Seattle. So we won't know about that one until later. But with that ankle issue, I just kind of want to stay away from that one. Now, it looks like PrizePicks is sort of building in is he going to play or not, or is he going to be effective at 83.5? The Awesemo projections say, oh, hell yeah, he's going to be 100%, but we'll change them when inactives come out. But we have about 111 yards right now. Great matchup. If he was healthy, I'd be excited for this. I just can't go there, even though there's, a 30-yard spread in this one. So some of these you have to think through a little bit. Others are going to be kind of, well, not gimmies, but come on, Tyreek Hill, we just need one jet sweep.
That's
just have to fall forward. That's all we need.
You're right. I love Tyreek Hill, by the way. I think the only one that, and it's funny because I think it's the one on the surface that makes the most sense to stay away from. But the only one that I would feel, and maybe it's just that I feel more confident than you do on it. Not that we disagree by any means, but I think Dalvin Cook, if he's out there, is good enough to get 100 yards every single time. Like he would have to have the Carson Wentz double ankle injury to where, he can't move. And I feel like, and the reason why I say this is because, look, if we're talking about EMac, a 95.5, a 91.5 prop, I get it. It's tough, but 83.5 yards for a guy that even when they're down, like Derrick Henry, and really that's it right now, are bulletproof to any and every game plan. I think that, and again, this is assuming he's going to play. If we get in now at 83.5, I think we're going to look back and be happy about it.
Yeah, I think that's good. I'm just seeing if his number is on the board.
Now
No, he
watch, this
is.
is going to burst Jordan's power play next week and going to come back, and there are going to be memes and GIFs of me everywhere. You idiot. You told me to roll Cook over 80. He'll probably slide it at 83 now. My luck.
So Cook is
over. I love over.
Yeah, Cook is not on the board anywhere else. And I'm guessing, and you can let me know because I'm new into the sports wagering. It's because they don't want that money tied up that on a bet that there's a decent chance they have to pull off the board, especially because it's a later game. They would rather have you have that money burn a hole in your pocket and be put somewhere else on something that is going to happen. So,
and look, I'm aware that he didn't practice all week, but we've seen this plenty of times with guys at high volume / high contact positions where, look, you don't need to practice a game plan if you're Dalvin Cook. You are the game plan. So it's much easier to rest him all week and play him every single week than it would be to force him back in. That's all. Yeah. Come on. We're talking about practice.
Absolutely.
All right.
Next one we've got. So Tyreek Hill.
You're back on the Hill train here.
Receiving. So PrizePicks has him at 80.5. Awesemo has him at 90.5. I'm okay taking the over on this one. Do we know what's going on with Clyde Edwards-Helaire? Is he just not good? Is this just, or is he not worthy of a first round pick? Is he a fungible running back? Clearly he's worthy of being an NFL starter, but I don't think he moves the needle much more than a replacement level player. So yeah, he's going to be in the league for another 5-6 years, but that second contract he get is not going to be a big one. It's going to be smaller than the one he has now. So that one, I'm still comfortable going in on the over for Tyreek Hill. Of course, he's going to be competing against Travis Kelce. They have, but they can both put up 1,000 yards, even in a regular 16-game season. So I think this one, the over on Tyreek Hill, feels comfortable. It's going against the Chargers. It's going to be a shootout game. They can't cover everybody. So I like Hill on this one. The next one's kind of a triple combination here. So Tom Brady, depending on which sportsbook you're looking at, is between 301 and 310 yards. So I wanted to get a nice mix, not just the Awesemo projections, but where is it going to his receivers? We know that Antonio Brown is out. He's on the COVID-19 list. Right. So Chris Godwin has just a 70-yard pit on PrizePicks, while Awesemo has him for 84. Now, Mike Evans, we're a scratch. 64 for them, 65 for us. Don't really want that. Scotty Miller, they have just at 26.5. We have at 37.5.
I like
but
that.
even if I look at the Awesemo projections and we give, whatever we're going to give to Gronk and whatever, I'm not adding up to the Tom Brady love of 300 yards. So I think, and I didn't go pull up. We back check all of our stuff, so it does. I didn't pull all of the Tampa Bay receivers. They account for that to make sure that you're not giving Tom Brady 500 yards and his receivers 200 yards, right? So don't worry about that.
Exactly.
But all I'm saying is, if he's going to throw for 300 plus, doesn't it feel like we'll probably get 80, 90 yards going to Godwin and not 70 yards with no Antonio Brown?
Yeah. I think Godwin, there is no other, and I don't think it's Mike Evans here by any means. Scotty Miller is going to get sneaky yards, slot yards, cross field yards, maybe one that's like a 15 to 20 yard play on the outside if he can get by somebody. But if you're Tampa, think of this too. The game flow is most likely going to be up and down the field against the Rams. So you're going to take shots down the field just from a sheer volume standpoint. Chris Godwin is going to receive the majority of those shots downfield, if not nearly all of them. So I think Godwin stands the best chance to go over. But I love staying away from Mike Evans because of how sharp it is compared to us. But I think there's some sneaky value going over Scotty Miller, 26.5 EMac.
I'm liking that one. The 37 where Awesemo has was pretty solid. So we're giving Gronk 50, we're giving Fournette 20, we're giving Ronald Jones 15, Cam Brate 15, Bernard and Ty Johnson are getting about a dozen apiece. OJ Howard's in the mix there. So by the time you go and add it all up, it's let's go look and see what it is. Brady's coming in at 316 for us. Those numbers don't quite add up to 316, but they're pretty damn close. So it's one of those where I don't think PrizePicks is adjusting for the fact that Antonio Brown is out. As more people go on the over of this, they're going to move it up. So you want to get in on this one today. would be my take.
Before we wind down with a couple of fantasy points, and it's always great how you do this for people on PrizePicks.com. Hit that thumbs up. Use our promo code Awesemo, by the way, AWESEMO, and we'll match your first deposit on PrizePicks.com up to $100. I did see you have an eye on Godwin's receptions over 5.5. I assume over 5.5 since we're over on the site, or is that a stay away?
I just found it interesting that on this particular metric, we came closer to PrizePicks is at 5.5. We're at 6.3. I still like 7.5. Probably feels more reasonable on this one, but it's just interesting because I wanted to point back out the rushing attempts, completions, catches, and quarterback attempts. Those are almost all scratch when you look at what PrizePicks is doing and what we're doing. Wow. Their model then does stuff with the yards. How are we factoring in the opponents? What are we giving for target share? What are we doing for this? What are we doing? So that's their little inefficiency. So when we look at ours, we're more often going to talk about yardage being the difference rather than those other marks. Because I went down the attempts and completions. We're plus or minus 2 on every single quarterback there.
Wow.
It's just like, okay, well, I don't want to live on that margin.
No. Way too sharp. All right, brother, take us home here on some fantasy points, sharp plays.
Absolutely. Zipping us through here. So Terry McLaurin, 16 fantasy points. This is half PPR. Awesemo has him projected for 12.7. Okay. They're going into Buffalo. They're on the road. It's Taylor Heineke. Your half PPR is not going to catch up as quickly as the full PPR. Basically, we're saying he could have a touchdown. If a touchdown, 4 catches and 80 yards would still barely get him to 16. That's a pretty good day.
I agree.
So careful on that. Logan Thomas, 11. We have him at 7. A little bit of a stay away, in my opinion, but it's not like
go under that one too.
Still take the under. You're betting on a touchdown.
Right.
If Logan Thomas doesn't get the touchdown, then you win this one. So it's another way to look at it. Justin Fields, I did look at his attempt, I did look at his fantasy points, 17.5. So while I wanted the under on his rushing, I'll take the over on 17.5 because I do think he has a decent chance of running in a touchdown. Rookie quarterbacks and inexperienced quarterbacks pull down the ball and run for their life. If they're doing that inside the 10, he's got the skill set to get in there, especially if they're running a spread play or something like that. All of a sudden, he's in the end zone. The defense isn't exactly going to be bitter about it. So I think there's the potential there. If he gets a rushing touchdown, he's probably going to get to 20 fantasy points. We're looking at 17.5 for that line right now. The odd one, sticking in this same game, Allen Robinson, his wide receiver. PrizePicks has him at 16. Awesemo has him at 10.3.
Wow.
That is one I want to put in my card. So that will be a for sure one. I'm taking the under on that one. If he gets 2 touchdowns, well, yay for the Chicago fans. Bad for me, but I 60. That's a big difference. And then the final one I had that stood out to me as we wrap up here, TJ Hawkinson. Now we've looked at him for receptions. Ben had a nice call out for I think it was week 2 for the over on his catches. Tough matchup against Baltimore. 14.5 fantasy points for PrizePicks. We're saying 10.4. Again, if you don't think he's going to get in the end zone, that is something that's going to be hard for him to pass. He's really going to need, if he went eight catches and 60 yards, that's now what you're starting to look at, and he's still not quite going to be there. 8 for 60 is a pretty good day. If he doesn't get in the end zone, he's not going to get there.
No, you're right. And I love the last 2 under by a mile there, especially with Hawkinson narrative of keeping him out of the end zone, but knowing how much of a volume catcher he can be with some yards there as well. Once again, my friend, you have thoroughly prepared us. You're making some money. I could see on the chat as well, agreeing with you on that easy over for Swift and beyond. So we're going to be back next week, getting you ready for week 4 on prizepicks.com. Again, our promo code Awesemo. Use it. We'll match your first deposit up to $100. Make sure you thank EMac on any and every platform here on Awesemo, Twitter as well, for making you some money here. Thanks to Jordan for producing, and have a great night. Good luck. And we already know you're going to win some money. Thanks for riding with us.